Hi, I've been asked by one of my students to talk about painting big, making big paintings. She wants to go larger, and so she's asked me, what do I think about when I'm making a big painting? So let's start off with what you need in your studio if you want to do a big painting. Well, when I do a big painting, I've got these big panels. They are just like cradled panels, and they hook onto my board up here, my painting wall, and I have the canvas wrapped around them so that when the painting's finished, I can take the canvas off. It's stapled on at the back. I just flick off the staples, and then I can take the canvas off and roll it up and send it away. So that's the substrate, that's the support. In order to make a big painting, you need to have some space. I paint it on the wall, but I also I do some parts of it lying flat, and so I put two chairs together. I haven't got a big table like this in my studio. I put two chairs together, and I lie the painting on the chairs. The other thing you need is lots of paint. So make sure that you have a good stock of paint, that you're not going to run out, that you're not going to feel frugal when it comes to painting, because you need to be able to use quite a lot of it. And big tools, like I will use big brushes. In the early stages I use a squeegee like this. So I'll use this, and I use big brushes as well. The other thing that you need is you need to be able to get distance away from it. You need to be able to look at it sort of as if you were a bird, like a bird's eye view. You need to have distance so that when you're looking at it, you're not getting sucked into looking at little details. You're looking at the overall design, and that's really important. Now, you can sort of work your way around that if you haven't got a big studio. I mean, I haven't got a massive studio, but I can roll up my blinds and get a good 3 or 4 meters away from it. If you can't do that, you can take a photo, and that reduces the image down to a tiny little rectangle or square, whatever format you're using, and then you can look at it from a distance. And if you can turn that into black and white on your phone, that's really helpful as well, because then you can see your value distribution and how your design is working over the whole composition. So those are really important things. Lots of paint, good support, and being able to get away from it from a distance. And big tools as well. Okay, we've covered off the actual physical things that you need. What do you need up here? If you're making a big painting and it all goes horribly wrong, you've got a very big mistake or a big mess or a big reminder that things have gone horribly wrong. If you do a little painting and it goes horribly wrong, it's only a little reminder. Even though it might get in your head, it's only a little reminder, but a big one requires a degree of confidence. You need to have a process that you're confident in, really. Otherwise you're going to waste a lot of materials. And I always say to my students that they should start small and incrementally work up to bigger paintings. I have seen people who have started painting and then wanted to make big paintings and gone big. They haven't really built their process, and so the paintings, while their style of painting can look good small, once they get bigger, they just don't have a repertoire that they can use to pull off a big painting. So I think really hang around those small paintings until you're really confident. And if you want to get bigger in small increments so that you're not taking a giant step. You've got to set yourself up for success. And running before you can walk is probably going to end up in falling over. But really get good at walking, and then you'll be able to run. Such wisdom. This is the process I use. And actually, at the end of June, I'm doing a workshop where I will teach my process in a week. And if you're interested in learning more about it, then make sure you sign up for that workshop. There'll be a link in the description under the video. Okay, let's get back to the process. The first things I think about when I'm making my work is just laying down an interesting surface. So I just want to put paint on quite thickly. I want to play with materials. I want to just be really free. And so when I'm doing that, I will use oil sticks, I'll use lots of paint, I'll use big shapes, I'll use my squeegee, I'll get lots and lots of different effects. And from those effects, looking at them, while the design isn't organized yet, from those, from sort of throwing everything at the canvas, putting everything on there, I will find little clues that give me an idea for what to do next. Little bits that I like. Things like this little shape here, really liked that. That was put down very early on in this painting journey. You know, there'll be little combinations of colours that happen to come together, and that will make me think, oh, that's a nice colour palette, I'll go there. So the answers for the painting lie in the painting. And it's through playing and experimenting and exploring that you find those. And so those first layers are really all about just doing that, just having fun with the materials and seeing what, if I did this, what does it look like? And just exploring. After you do that, at some point you have to start making some decisions. And I will make a decision around a colour palette, just a few colours that are working quite nicely together, and that will be the beginnings of the development of a colour palette. And often the way that I figure out my colour palette is by painting these stripes, and that way I get to see what colours look like as they're butted up next to each other, and they'll mostly get covered over as well, but that helps me to sort of organise my colours. And I'm doing it on the painting. The evolution happens on the surface of the painting. It doesn't happen in pre-drawings or a sketchbook or all that sort of stuff. It's happening on here. So that's where I decide about a colour palette, or the beginnings of a colour palette. Then I'll start thinking about design. And when I start wanting to make design decisions, I have to get some really good strong lights and darks. And so I'll put on some big shapes and start working into those. And you can see a big shape here that goes, you know, this starts at this side of the painting and goes right over to the other side of the painting. So as well as having smaller shapes, I need to have some big shapes. And it's those big shapes that form the design of the painting, so that I know where my light areas are, where my dark areas are, and how they're distributed, how the painting is composed and made up. So that's the next decision. Then once I'm happy with that kind of design decision, and often I'll turn the canvas around, so I'll explore different options, and finally there'll be a way where it feels best for me, and that will be the orientation that I decide on. And then it's about looking at finding my heroes in the painting. And the heroes can be things like this little shape, really liked that. I did a little drawing here, really liked that little drawing. I loved this big shape here. I like the squareness of this. And when I identify the things that I like, that gives me a clue as to what to do next. So having this big square shape here made me think, okay, I need to have a curve somewhere near it because that's different. And so just putting those differences next to each other is what I'm sort of thinking about and doing. So finding those heroes, and then once I've got those heroes going, I need to have a look at the painting and see what's distracting. And this is where we come into the editing process. So then I look and say, okay, I've got an area over here that's got quite a lot of action happening, it's got quite a lot of activity, and before there was a lot of sort of action over here as well. Eventually I decided I would get rid of that because it was too distracting for what was going on here. So it's a process of adding, identifying, and then eliminating. That's kind of what I'm doing all the time, looking for where the heroes are, what do I want people to see in this area, what's distracting from it, you know, all that sort of, those are the sort of things that I'm asking myself. Until I get to a point where I'm quite satisfied with the end result. And this is where I am with this one. I'm really quite happy with this now, and I think it's probably finished. I might do a little bit of glazing here and there, but ultimately I'm really quite happy with it. So that's the process. Now I'm really confident in that process because I know it really well, and I've been through it a lot, and I know what the next steps are. It's hard to describe it when you know, just to describe it, you really have to go through it. And that's what I'm going to be doing in my workshop with the people who sign up. We'll go through this process. But knowing this, what I teach alongside in this workshop is the stages of a painting. So knowing what to do in the beginning, what to do in the middle, when to start editing, and how to finish, knowing those different stages means that when you're in the process of the painting, you know where you are and you can make the decision, now am I ready to go into the next stage, or am I really not happy and I think I need to go back and do a little bit more, perhaps playing and finding some more interesting marks and details and things. Knowing the stages of the painting gives you kind of like a roadmap, and you know where you are, whether you need to go forward or back, and you don't get lost. And that's really the most important part. So it's really important that you have the process. You need all those tools, you need the space, but you really need the confidence and the process to be able to work at a big scale. So I hope that's helped, Alan. Alan was the one who asked initially. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll get to them and see if I can answer them. Okay, hope that's helped.